in just moments. Do not leave your computer or your smart device. Oh, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. Share with friends. Blow this thing up, shall we? Let's blow it up. Let's do this! Hello, it's me, Rob Carson, and it's time to find out what in the world is going on, or what in the country is going on. Anyway, glad to have you here tonight as we broadcast live on Facebook at Rob Carson Show. If you'd like to share with others, this will also be featured on Range Broadcasting, rangebroadcasting.com. Terry Littlepage's glorious enterprise. So please share with others if you would, please, because this is a show about comedy from a, libertarian leaning conservative state of mind. And it's kind of rare, actually. So you normally don't see this. Because, honestly, comedy is owned pretty much by the left. I don't know why. Because there's a lot of stuff to laugh about out there. And why can't people who are libertarian or conservative be funny? Well, you're going to find out in the next hour or so whether I am or not. And I think you will be surprised that I actually can be. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in the world today, including AOC and a bunch of Hispanic women from Congress going to the border to go to a detention facility. And they went there, I'll just say right now, they went there with talking points in hand and a narrative that they were ready to launch, okay? It was ready to go. They even started speculating about the conditions in the the detention facility before they got there. All right, so this is paid for, bought and paid for stuff from the Democrat Party, and that's basically it. All right, so that is bought and paid for. We're going to get to that here in just a couple of seconds. Also, I think you're going to enjoy some Antifa hijinks. I'm using the hijinks in Portland, Oregon over the weekend. Hello, Carol Davis. Hello. Always nice to have you here. Beto O'Rourke, his thoughts on why people are streaming up here from Central and South America. Yeah, like the Antifa. The new White House press secretary, Stephanie Grisham, gets roughhoused by some Koreans. Nike pulls a patriotic $140 sneaker because a guy who doesn't even play football, isn't even an athlete right now, found it objectionable. Let's see what else. Bill Maher skewers Julian Castro for something said during the Democrat debate. And then just some non-political stuff, including why you should never ride your motorcycle through a tiger reserve, and some kids trampolining that is, really is amazing to watch. It's really amazing to watch. And when you see the video that I'm going to show you, you're going to be like, wow. Like 5 million people saw this video. I need to figure out how to do something like that so I can get 5 million people to view. So let's move on. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she goes to the border with a bunch of Hispanic women from Congress. Of course, there are different caucuses in Congress. There's the Congressional Black Caucus. There's the Hispanic Women's Caucus, I guess. These are the people who went down to the border facility. They have visited many times before and never really had anything to say about it. But apparently, here's the inside scoop on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She goes down to the border facility. She immediately says that the border agents, the people who are working there that are guarding these people, who are completely overrun, by the way, completely overrun by illegal streaming across the border. She immediately says that there are people there making women drink out of toilets. Now, that is a farce. That is a lie. That is a bunch of BS. But apparently these 14 Democrats, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, showed up there at about 11 o'clock yesterday in El Paso at the station at Hondo Pass Drive. She came out screaming at our agents, according to Byron York, Washington Examiner, crying and screaming and yelling. One witness who said he was stunned by the outburst in front of approximately 40 people. The agents, they wanted to respond, but they held back because she's a congressional delegate. But when you have someone yelling at you in a threatening manner, the person said they were like, hey, you kind of need to step back. So AOC goes down. She's coming out crying, screaming, and yelling. This was already planned. It was already planned. And if you don't think it was already planned, you're high. Okay? You are high. Second official said she went out of the cell during a group's briefing ceremony or nearby. Group's briefing nearby. Returned to the group several times to share information she had learned from detainees, including one that person who said they drunk out of a toilet. Okay. Ocasio-Cortez commented at another point about an official Border Patrol Facebook page that was exposed earlier on Monday for offensive content. Someone under her breath, oh, all these guys here are going to F me. The agents are standing there behind the computers. One of the agents laughed at something he was saying to another agent, and she got irate and flipped out. Queso. Queso. I use the word queso. That's Spanish for cheese. So she goes down with a bunch of a list of talking points to this detention facility and said that people were drinking out of toilets. That was not the case. That was not the case. All right. My half-sis has joined me tonight. Hello, half-sis Patty. Good to have you joining me. So the congressman who led the charge in 2018 to abolish immigration and customs enforcement recounted the scene differently. She said she had forced herself into a cell with women, began speaking to them. One of them described their treatment at the hands of officers as psychological warfare, waking them at odd hours for no reason, calling them whores, telling them what about that is due to lack of funding. Now, this is a load of crap. It's a load of crap. And I'm just going to say, just real quick, I try to make this funny. Today, I drove by a protest in Overland Park, Kansas, of the detention facilities, closed the detention facilities, at a parking lot of a bank, of all things. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went to this detention facility with 13 other Democrat women to check out the detention facilities and come back with identical talking points. And today, oddly enough, well, how did all these evergreen protests just kind of pop up? Or not evergreen, I should say AstroTurf. How did all of these protests just suddenly pop up the next day after this? Because this was planned. This was all planned, guys. AOC goes down to a detention facility. The Democrat candidates last week, their debate basically said these facilities need to be shut down. And then today we have organic protests around the country, in cities around the country. This is bought and paid for, folks. Bought and paid for. Let's hear Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talk about the conditions inside of these facilities.
There's abuse in these facilities. There's abuse. This was them on their best behavior.
Yeah.
And they put them in a room with no running water. And these women were being told by...
You want to hear something really weird? My living room has no running water. And you know what else? My bedroom has no running water. My dining room has no running water. There are rooms that occasionally, you don't want running water in them.
CBP officers to drink out of the toilet.
Sure.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez described what she called a horrifying visit inside a Customs and Border facility in El Paso, Texas, Monday.
God, I hope this woman goes back behind bars in 2020. I mean, behind a bar where she serves drinks, which is what she was doing a year ago.
Migrants are being detained. Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, "It's not just the kids, it's everyone. People drinking out of toilets, officers laughing in front of members of Congress.
This is a load
I brought
of
it
crap.
up to their superiors. They said officers are under stress and act out sometimes. No accountability." Reuters correspondent Micah Rosenberg.
These very serious concerns about conditions at the border are coming from at the same time that U.S. officials are saying they don't have the money, they don't have the resources to...
Yes, and by the way, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her ilk decided that they were going to vote against $4.5 billion in aid to make the conditions better. Did you know that? Did you know that that last week they voted against $4.5 billion? Now think about what $4.5 billion can do. $1 billion can build one hell of a football stadium. I mean, woo! Wow. Really? AOC voted against making the detention facilities better so she could go down and complain about how bad they are. That's what happened. Unbelievable. Let's see. Another Democrat, Representative Norma Torres of California. She was down there. This is where it gets more. This is where it gets more outrageous. All right, because we have people who are down there busting their butts day in and day out, having their lives threatened. Let's not forget that among all of these illegal aliens, and they're illegal aliens in this country, not invited, decided to come here illegally. Reason being policy. Let's face it. This all started during the Obama administration because of DACA and then what was going to be PACA about the parents. Children of illegals coming in, then parents, and then chain migration and millions of people coming into the country to upset the balance of power in the United States. That's not conspiracy talking their kids. That's reality. That's reality. So this was all started during the last administration. And now we are reaping what Obama sowed. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Representative Norma Torres said that she was concerned going on. Now, this is literally dozens and dozens of and hundreds of Congress people have visited the facilities and never had this experience before. Never before today or yesterday, before a day of protests around the country. Never before yesterday had anybody said people are drinking out of toilets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It didn't happen. It was all coordinated, and it all happened yesterday. They went down there with talking points in hand to prove a narrative that did not exist. That said, here is Norma Torres with her talking points in hand, here to destroy people who are trying to protect our border, take care of people who come here illegally, and ultimately, I would hope, tell them to go back to their sucky countries. Let's try that again. Norma Torres.
How were you treated when you went there?
Well, I was definitely concerned. We were disrespected when we were there. We had a conversation with management about this article before we enter the location. Now, we were told that our staffs had to stay outside and that we had to keep either our phones there at the entryway or we had to leave them in the car. Now,
where else do you have to leave your phone? Where else do you have to leave your phone? Where else do you have to either turn it in to officials or do you have to leave it in your car? Where is that? Any idea where that is? I'm going to go ahead and quiz you. Where do you suppose people are asked to leave their phones in their car or not bring them in at all or actually turn them over to authorities in there? You know where that is? That's the well of either house of Congress. When you go there, and I've been there, when you go in, you are told to turn off your phone. Turn it over to authorities. You are told to turn your phone over to authorities or leave it at home. Obviously, if you're already there and you still got it, you haven't left it at home. But that's another place that if you are going to go in, you're going to have to leave your phone. Okay?
I don't trust to leave my cell phone with these individuals.
Why not? They are federal agents. They are good people.
That would threaten members of Congress.
How are they threatening members of Congress? How would anybody in their right mind threaten members of Congress who went down for this is such an insult to the people who bust their asses down there, deal with people who are there from MS-13, deal with people who are trafficking children. And these people are on the wrong side of history. They are on the wrong side of history. And it's a shame what they're doing to the people in uniform there who are trying to manage the chaos created by the last administration and many administrations before them.
While we are in the process of doing our job, let me remind these people that this is our job. Oversight.
Did she say these people? That's kind of racist.
It's our job, and that's what we were doing. And to threaten members of Congress, I certainly did not.
How did they threaten you? How did the uniformed people who are down there dealing with a humanitarian crisis that they had nothing to do with creating, how did they threaten you? Honestly, this is a lie.
Feel safe to be inside this location. I voiced those concerns, and I also voiced my concern for the safety of my staff that was left out.
You are not in a third world country. You are in the United States. You have no threat whatsoever, and this is all a lie.
Side, and who was going to be taking care and ensuring that no attacks.
She's almost on the verge of tears.
Were going to be.
I mean, this is pretty good. This is pretty good acting here. This could get you. What is it? The one that an Emmy for television. Yeah.
Against our staff, and they reassured us of that. But certainly,
whoa. They're reassuring that everybody's safe while threatening their safety. That doesn't make any sense.
When we walked inside the facility, there were CBP agents that were taking photos, photos with us in the background. None of us had a cell phone to be able to record these actions by these agents. But imagine, this is what they are doing to members of Congress in front of their leadership. So you could imagine what happens behind closed doors within these ICE cells to children as young as 2 years old.
Oh, dear God in heaven. You've got to be kidding me. You are going to dehumanize. You know, if anybody who is not human, it would be a member of Congress. To dehumanize those who are trying to protect the border is honestly, I don't have any words. I usually do, by the way. I don't have any words. Rob Astorino is an analyst, I guess. He was asked what he thought of all this falderall with regard to the visit of and this is on CNN, by the way, with regard to Ocasio-Cortez and the 13 other members of the Women's Congressional Hispanic Caucus, I guess, whatever. And he says it's nonsense and they're lying.
Anna makes a great point here, the idea of the fish rotting from the top. I mean, Rob, do you think that the president, when he used a certain terminology like bad hombres, or he talks about migrants, do you think that his rhetoric is sending a signal that is trickling down to agents like this?
No, and there's such frustration on the border right now. Look, AOC, by the way, I don't believe everything she said from what she saw or said she saw.
Like what?
Drinking out of the toilets and all this other stuff, and that the agents were laughing.
This is worse than what they said happened at Club Gitmo. This is worse. I mean, we're talking about terrorists after 9/11 in Cuba being detained, and we are asking migrants. And by the way, they're not just migrants; they're illegal aliens to drink out of toilets. So it's worse than. Apparently, we were treating people at Club Gitmo who were actual terrorists who killed a lot of people.
At her in her presence. I mean, come on. And she's got a political bent for some of this as well. By the way, she just voted against the two bills that were bipartisan bills that were put in to alleviate those situations down there, $4.6 billion. And she said, hell no, because some of the money was going to go to the E in ICE enforcement and to the B in CPB, border protection. And she doesn't want any of that. So,
okay, so that's true. That is true. Did not want that. It is amazing. You won't vote for a bill that would make conditions better for these people, and then go down there and complain that the conditions are deplorable. Absolutely amazing. By the way, the New York Times op-ed over the weekend called for doxing and shaming, harassing Border Patrol agents. Listen to this. Identities of individuals and customs and border protection agents who are physically separating children from their families and staffing the detention centers are not undiscoverable. Immigration lawyers have agent names. Journalists reporting the border have names, photos, and even videos. These agents' actions should be publicized, particularly in their home communities. Now, listen to this. Listen to this. After saying that, this is not an argument for doxing. You just talked about, listen to this, reporting at the border, have names, photos, and even videos. These agents' actions should be publicized, particularly in their home communities. They just doxed. They just supported doxing. Now they're saying that it's not an argument for doxing. It's about exposure of the participation in atrocities to audience atrocities, dear God in heaven, whose opinion they care about. The knowledge, for instance, when you go to church on Sunday, your entire congregation will see you as the TV ripping a child out of its father's arms and is a serious social cost to bear. The desire to avoid this kind of social shame might be enough to persuade some agents to quit and may hinder the recruitment of those replacements. This is just about destroying our border, bringing illegals in, and upsetting the balance of power in the country. Here's a little bit more from this New York Times piece. In Denmark during World War II, for instance, strong social pressure, including from the churches, contributed to the refusal of the country to comply with Nazi orders to deport its Jewish citizens. What a horrible, horrible comparison, but one that is not uncommon with the left in this country. One that is not uncommon, and honestly, quite disgusting. Let's talk about a sponsor on this radio program, or I should say television program, whatever you want to call it. Digital platform program. How about Dots Pretzels? These are the best pretzels in the history of mankind. They are absolutely amazing. They are buttery, they are garlicky, they are oniony, possibly. I haven't even been able to figure it out. This is what the package looks like. They are available in the Midwest, in the Southwest, in Arizona. And you can find them in grocery stores, like, for instance, in the Kansas City area, Hy-Vee. True Value, oddly enough, my wife works there, True Value Hardware. Hen House Markets. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, they don't need anything. They don't need mustard. They don't need anything. They are just glorious. They're the best pretzels. You can go get those plain pretzels with salt on them and dip them in your mustard and all that, but they are nothing compared to Dots Pretzels. If you aren't near a place that retails these, then just order them online, dotspretzels.com, dotspretzels.com, because I'm going to tell you something. These are spectacular. When my wife gets them from her work, she'll bring home a bag, and we are just ecstatic. They're awesome. Dotspretzels.com, dotspretzels.com. Why are people coming here from Central and South America? Why is it? Is it because of global warming? Is it because the countries there have not been able to get their crap together? I'm thinking it's because they haven't been able to get their crap together. Let's face it. There are some countries in the world. I'm going to try and find Beto O'Rourke here. Beto O'Rourke says that migrants have no choice to come here because of climate change. They have no choice to come here. Yeah, here we go. Other than climate change. So, listen, Central and South America have never been hot before, apparently. They have never suffered a drought before. But here's Beto O'Rourke saying the reason why people are coming here, the reason why, is because of climate change.
And we've got to remember that they are fleeing the deadliest countries on the face of the planet today, compounded by drought.
God, he's got to get over this stuff. He looks like such a moron.
It's caused not by God, not by Mother Nature, but by us. Man-made climate change, our emissions, our excesses, our inaction in the face of the facts and the science. When it is that deadly, and when you're unable to grow your own food to feed yourself, you have no choice but to come here.
No, actually, if you go to countries like Venezuela, the reason why that there are no crops being grown is because they're confiscated by the government. You are such a moron. He's such a moron. We had a drought here, I believe in the Midwest. We came through here, 7 or 8 years ago. There was a drought in the Midwest, and it caused major problems in Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, and nobody went to Canada. Nobody went to Canada. Nobody from the United States went to Canada when we had a drought here. All right? Nobody goes to Canada when there's a drought. Here's the reason why people in Central and South America come here. Because their countries suck. They just suck. They're terrible, they're socialist, they're totalitarian, and they don't have their crap together. That's the thing that sucks about Central America and South America. They can never get their stuff together. Same goes for Haiti, same goes for Jamaica. They never get it together. They don't have the capacity for some odd reason to make their countries suck less and use the people of those countries as citizens. To create, to build, to do awesome things. They'd rather have them just leave. It's not global effing warming. If it were global effing warming, we would have all moved to Canada 7 or 8 years ago when there was a drought in the Midwest. And we had floods this year. We should all be going to Canada. God, these people are so stupid. Sorry, I get a little worked up here. Oh, wow. Listen to this. Can I get some love? Can I get some emojis? Give me some love. Give me some emojis. And share, if you would, please. Because I think this is a pretty good show. I mean, it's by a guy in his living room. In his home studio. Senior UN environmental official says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if the global warming trend is not reversed by the year. I'll share in a second. Coastal flooding, crop failures would create an exodus of eco-refugees, threatening political chaos. This according to Noel Brown, director of the New York office of the United Nations Environmental Program. He said governments have a 10-year window of opportunity to solve the greenhouse effect before it goes beyond human control. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Beto O'Rourke and other Democrat candidates have said we have literally 10 to 12 years to cure global warming, or it's all over. Coastal regions will be inundated. 1/6 of Bangladesh could be flooded, displacing 1/4 of its 90 million people. 1/5 of Egypt's arable land in the Nile Delta would be flooded, cutting off its food supply. According to a joint UNEP and United U.S. Environmental Protection study. Ecological refugees will become a major concern, like what's happening from Central and South America. And what's worse is you may find that people can move to higher ground, but the soils and natural resources may not support life. Yeah. Excess carbon dioxide pouring into the atmosphere because of humanity's use of fossil fuels and burning of rainforests. The atmosphere is retaining more heat than it radiates, much like a greenhouse. All of this is happening in the next 10 years. Problem is, the study came out in 1989. Now, I believe 1989, 1990, 2009, 2019. That's 30 years. So this all was going to happen 30 years ago, that 10 years ago, we were going to be beyond help. And now, Beto O'Rourke, who flaps his hands around like an idiot, he's saying that we've got 10 years. Do you see what I'm talking about here, kids? Haven't we been here before? I think we've been here before. By the way, you guys want to follow me on Facebook? Obviously, Rob Carson Show. Twitter at Rob Carson. Let's talk a little bit about the Antifa, which is the dumbest name ever for an organization. The Antifa. All right? The Antifa is a group of individuals who say that they are fighting fascism in the country. But they exemplify what fascism is all about, which is using whatever to shut people down. Using whatever it takes, pardon me, I should not have played that. Using whatever it takes to shut people down. Over the weekend in Portland, Oregon, there was another Antifa protest. And a guy named Andy No was punched, kicked, and milkshaked by Antifa protesters in Portland. Now, apparently he's a conservative guy. Describes himself in his Twitter bio as hated by the Antifa. Couple of reasons why he's conservative. Actually, there's only one reason. He's conservative. He's a gay Asian guy. Normally, if you were being attacked by somebody from the far right, this would be national headlines. But unfortunately, it is not, because he is not somebody who is affiliated with the left. He went to this Antifa rally in downtown last week and was basically beaten. Here's a little bit of footage from Andy No being attacked by the Antifa. Okay, now here's a guy who is only armed with a microphone and a camera. He had his microphone and camera taken away from him, okay? He is being bear maced in his face. He has bear mace in his face. What they do at these Antifa rallies is what they will attempt to create some sort of a crevice or some sort of a wound in the face and then spray bear mace in it. So it's not bad enough that you have a bear mace in your eyes, which I can't even imagine how terrible it is, but also that it's in the wounds that they created. And then they do a thing called milkshaking. Now, this was kind of cute for a while. They do it to politicians, just throw a milkshake at people. Well, what they're doing now is put noxious chemicals in the milkshakes and fast-drying concrete. Now, the idiots who are with Antifa, if you just put fast-drying concrete in a milkshake a few minutes before you throw it at somebody, it's not going to become a projectile that's hard. It's just going to hurt people. It's going to burn them with the chemicals that you put in it. Now, there are rumors that Antifa is planning on attending the July 4th celebration in Washington, D.C., and they plan on acid attacks. If this happens, these people need to have their asses kicked. And Antifa has run roughshod over many municipalities, injuring people, covering their faces, and doing this stuff like they did with Andy No. Watch these people. Cowards. Cowards.
Fucking own, bitch!
There he is getting beaten quite severely. He did have some injuries with regard to this. And all he did was show up with a camera to cover this rally. Now, the media have always supported Antifa, but the media have also reported and supported groups like Occupy. Occupy was an organization that during the Obama administration showed up in municipalities around the country and basically camped out, caused violence, crapped on police cars, did a lot of different things to, I guess, support anti-corporate greed. I don't even know what it's about. I was in Washington, D.C. at the time. My son was verbally attacked by a psycho from one of these organizations when we were downtown for a Thanksgiving 5K. And I could smell the pot coming from the Occupy tents that morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning. They set up rape tents to protect women from these people. I could go on and on and on. This is an extension to that. The Antifa is exactly what fascism is all about. Physical violence, shutting down the opposing opinions, the ability to be able to share your point of view. That's what the Antifa is all about. That's what the Antifa is all about. Here's the media supporting the Antifa, regardless of the fact that they were a violent mob.
I argue to you tonight, all punches
this guy's
are
such an
not
idiot.
equal morally. In the eyes of the law, yes. But in the eyes of good and evil, here's the argument.
They are strictly principled anti-fascists. And what they see...
Whoa. Principled anti-fascists. Okay.
in the Trump administration and what they see happening in this country, they see the neo-fascism that we see. And they've taken a principled stand to stand against white supremacists and white nationalists wherever they may show.
Now, here's the thing. What the left is doing in this country is labeling things white supremacist or Naziistic. People like Ben Shapiro, who's an Orthodox Jew, saying that they're white supremacists. This is happening on college campuses, and it's broken free from the college campus. It's not on the college campus anymore. It is nationwide. If you don't agree with the Antifa, you are white supremacist. You are a racist. You are an anti-Semite. You are a Nazi. Hard to see why Ben Shapiro would be a Nazi, but a little bit more from the glorious butt-kissing by the media of the Antifa.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what...
Is it Antifa? Is it Antifa? Or is it Antifa? Just the dumbest name ever.
They were there fighting. Listen, there's... no organization is perfect. There was some violence.
I think that a lot of people...
there's no organization that's perfect. There's some violence. I mean, the Hells Angels, honestly, the Hells Angels, great group of people. Great group of people, but, hey, no organization is perfect. KKK. Oh, my gosh. I mean, no organization is perfect. Occasionally there's some violence, maybe a few lynchings and whatever, but honestly, it's for the greater good.
Recognize that.
Don Lemon, you moron.
When pushed, self-defense is a legitimate response to white supremacist and neo-Nazi violence.
The old white supremacist neo-Nazi violence. No, didn't happen in Portland. Not a big thing in Portland, oddly enough. The whole white supremacy and neo-Nazism, not a big deal in Portland.
The problem is...
You been to Portland lately?
Equate
I don't want to go either.
Violence in reaction against bigotry with the bigotry itself is to misunderstand the fact that when you go to cancer treatment, the radiation is tough treatment, but it is meant to remove the cancer.
They wouldn't have been anywhere
Wow, what a bad analogy.
near there had it not been for the fact that white supremacists, neo-Nazis were out...
the old white supremacist neo-Nazis.
...scaring the living daylights out of most of the people in that town.
Thuggishness is thuggishness wherever it comes from politically, and we should be the first to call it out.
I disagree.
Okay, whatever. Let's see, what else do I have as far as the Antifa? What a dumb name. We're the Antifa. Here's what we are. We're a bunch of brat millennials who cover their faces up. They go and hurl milkshakes and bear mace and use crowbars and other items to go after people, then run. They sucker punch. God, I would love to get a group of bikers like my brother Dwight, who just passed away, his friends, and go to an Antifa rally and see how far they'd F with my brother's friends. Dear God in heaven. Just a bunch of wusses. This kind of reminds me of the this scene from a movie reminds me of the media's reaction to the Antifa. Even though there is massive violence in places like Portland, an elderly man was beaten, bloodied. This Andrew No, beaten and bloodied by the Antifa, and it kind of reminded me of this scene from a fantastic movie with Leslie Nielsen. Nothing to see.
Nothing to see here, please.
Nothing to see here. There's no violence to see here. There's nothing to see here. Unbelievable. All right, let's move on to some other stuff. Let's get some other stuff that I think you're going to find interesting. And not just political, by the way. Not just political. So, let me talk about this real quick. Pit barrel cookers. Right now, in my pit barrel cooker in front of my house, I have hickory and cherry wood, and some charcoal, and 2 giant racks of baby back ribs. 2 giant racks of baby back ribs. They were rubbed, one with a Chipotle rub, one with a standard KC rub. And they've been in my pit barrel cooker at around 225 degrees for around 3.5 hours. And they're coming out at 4 hours. Pit barrel cookers are amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Noah and Amber Glanville, they created these. Noah came back from Afghanistan, had PTSD. Had a wonderful military service. And when he arrived, his platoon was met by veterans with barbecue. And he said, I'm home, man. I'm home. Order one of these cookers like this, a classic on the left here, and you'll notice it. About a 25, 30-gallon drum. All you got to do is just put your fire in the bottom and open up the vent according to the elevation you're at and let it go. Hang the meat by hooks, grill with a grill grate, whatever. Pitbarrelcooker.com, pitbarrelcooker.com. Oh, my Lord in heaven. It is glorious. Absolutely glorious. Pitbarrelcooker.com. Hello, Kay Miska, who is a college classmate of mine. Glad to have you joining me tonight. All of you guys, give me some love, some emojis and all that, and share with others. It would be absolutely awesome if you do that. All right. Antifa. We're going to be doing in the meme time here very shortly. These are funny memes that I created over the last week. Let's talk a little bit about Trump in North Korea. Hold on one second before I get to that. Yeah, let's get to Trump in North Korea. Donald Trump went to North Korea, and he met with Kim Jong-un, and he walked across the 39th parallel, which is the division line that divides North and South Korea. And he went there and met Kim Jong-un, who's a scumbag. I mean, he's a total scumbag. Evil. He's Dr. Evil. There was apparently some sort of coup attempt, and he fed the person who created it with piranhas. He had him eating live with piranhas. So he is Dr. Evil. They really exist. But here he is going to North Korea and meeting with Kim Jong-un and actually stepping into North Korea for the first time in the history of the division of the country. And people are saying that this is some sort of a photo op. Here it is. It's kind of a big deal. This is kind of a big deal, by the way.
Good to see you again.
He's going to step into North Korea. And I know it's just a line.
To meet you at this place. If your excellency take a step forward, you will be the first U.S. president to cross the border.
He'll be the first president to cross. And there he did. Right there. It's a giant cat litter box, I think, right there. That's sand. It's got to be sand. Okay, so the visit was met with a good deal of consternation. A lot of people saying that Donald Trump is glad-handing dictators and all that. As far as I'm concerned, we have a history of glad-handing dictators. Something has to be done about our relationship with North Korea. We have tried the tough approach like we did with Russia that actually worked. we brought down the Soviet Union. Ronald Reagan brought down the Soviet Union by saying, bullcrap, we're not going to take this anymore. This is not working with the totalitarian regime of North Korea. So what can we do? Attempt to bring a modicum of freedom to North Korea? I'm not sure. The media said that Donald Trump is glad-handing with dictators. Now, you realize that just several years ago, Barack Obama did the same thing. Now, Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize before he even started and did anything in office. He was given the Nobel Peace Prize because he's a radical leftist Democrat. That's just what happened. But again, I think about 4 years ago, Barack Obama went to Cuba and watched a baseball game with a despot. Watched a baseball game. Now, Donald Trump walked across into North Korea the first time since the Korean War by a U.S. president to simmer things, settle things down with regard to North Korea and our conflict with them, and make our partners within missile shot, maybe put their fears at ease. Barack Obama went to Cuba and watched a baseball game with somebody who he idolized, Fidel Castro's brother, Raul Castro. There's the wave.
When I came here, I was curious and anticipated something really positive, but it's been so much more than that. And I want to really be grateful to President Obama for making this possible. I mean,
do they allow the streaming of games to the, I believe it's 169 political prisons in the small island of Cuba where people are being tortured? I hope they can watch baseball there as they're on the rack.
Create the opening for us to come over here. This doesn't happen. There's such a passionate group here. I think the two countries, the one thing they agree on for sure is how much they love the game.
Yeah, I don't think they have $10 beers in Cuba at the baseball game. Or peanuts. Yeah. Anyway, Barack Obama, a hero. Donald Trump, not so much. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Colin Kaepernick and how Nike's pulled some shoes. Here are the shoes that Nike has decided to pull. They featured the original flag of the United States, which is the 13 colonies, and Colin Kaepernick found these offensive. Complained it was offensive. The Air Max 1 USA shoes were set to go on sale this week for $140 a pair. He said it was offensive because of it links to an era of slavery. Nike chose not to release the shoes. Now the shoes are selling on the open market for $2,000 a pair if you could find them. So Betsy Ross flag features 13 white stars in a circle representing the 13 colonies, which created during the American Revolution. Okay. It is a time when lawmakers advocated for the expansion of slavery and declared that those born into slavery were slaves for life. This was the way of the world. Colin Kaepernick has to find a way to be offended constantly. There's nothing wrong with these shoes. Because this flag was the original flag of the greatest engine for individual and economic freedom in the history of mankind. And Nike can suck it. Hold on one second. I have to grab a phone call. Let's move on. Actually, no. Let's share one more slide here. So there's Nike's shoes. There's the front of the shoes. These are actually kind of ugly shoes. Not very attractive shoes. Kind of doofy looking shoes. Yeah. Ugly. Not good. All right. I had to answer a phone call because my wife needs me to come and get her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end with In the Meme Time, which is a bit that I do. That's kind of fun. These are memes that I've created in the last week or so that I'm going to share with you. All right? First one. Let's do the Nike shoes one, shall we? Here's the Nike shoes one. Colin Kaepernick gets Nike to pull these patriotic shoes. Nuck Fikey. Yeah, I came up with that myself. I know, I'm kind of cool. Let's do another one here. This is AOC. Let's do it. Votes against $4.5 billion for border aid, visits detention facility, and bitches about the conditions there. Yeah, pretty much. Let's do another one. Let's do an Antifa meme, shall we? The mainstream media says Antifa rallies are mostly peaceful. Does this look mostly peaceful to you? I don't think so. Here's another one. Oh, this is funny. The little girl moment during the debate. That little girl was me, talking about busing and Joe Biden being a racist. Joe Biden replies, which one? I've creeped out so many. Not going to get to the Bill Maher stuff here, but I will get it to it in the next episode. Finally, Kamala Harris, whatever. Harris acts like she was raised in segregationist South, raised in San Francisco. Dad was a Stanford professor. This one has gotten almost 20,000 views on Facebook. So check it out on Facebook at Rob Carson Show. Rob Carson Show. Time for me to go, everybody. I appreciate you joining me tonight. Share. This will be posted here, and there will be much more. I'll do another podcast probably a little bit later on. So I do appreciate you joining me. I hope you enjoyed the program. Please follow me on YouTube at Rob Carson Show, YouTube Rob Carson Show, Facebook Rob Carson Show, and Twitter at Rob Carson. In the meantime, God bless. See you soon.